I'll go if Tom's going for one. I'm all right.
Yeah, and then we'll start.
Yeah, go on then. It's probably a good idea. Keep me on the...
I might get myself a cheeky body.
Do it.
All right, Martin.
If I was a football, I'd be Jamie Voddy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's Al's new one-liner right there. Just edit that in over whatever he says. Right,
yeah, have a quick think of your one-liners if you need to.
Oh, fucking hell. What do they need to be?
I don't know. I was just Google it.
Literally anything. Like, Tom just says a random thing that David Mitchell once says. Al uses chat lines. Dan's a random. Martin's a who knows what.
Normally Baphomet related.
Yeah. Is everyone ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
You got your one-liner, Al?
No. There's so many bad ones.
It's going to come to a point where you do one that you've already done and nobody realises.
I know.
So,
150 are the best bad jokes. That'll make you cringe. Okay, lovely.
Don't steal mine.
Are you on the same list?
Maybe.
Ready?
Yeah, why not?
Yes or no?
Just say yeah, I'll figure it out.
Howdy, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cacophony Sessions podcast. My name is Dan Whittle, but you can call me Golden E Pluribus Unum Pump, and I'm going to stop doing this accent now.
Thank God for that.
I did not care for that.
I imagine he's going to do that several more times after we finish to work out which one works.
Tonight we meet some old contemporary favourites as we take another trip to the pop charts, but this time on the good old US Billboard Hot 100. Joining me in tonight's endeavour will be Dan B.
Nothing tops a plain pizza.
Alex.
What did the five fingers say to the face? I don't know. I messed it up.
Do you want to try again?
Should we do that again?
No, because I was going to read it and I couldn't be bothered to go through them all. So, hi, I'm Al, trying to get Baphomet, but in here, so being hit Martin. There you go. Done.
Tom.
Crunchy nut cornflakes are just Frosties for wankers.
Classic. And what's this? Newcomer alert. It's only bloody Jim.
Boo.
It is I.
Do you have a one-liner for us, sir?
I couldn't think of it. It's terrible.
So we have a newcomer on tonight, and his name is Jim. Jim, you live in Manchester currently, but you're from Plymouth, so you know the rest of us. And you're a big music fan.
I am a big music fan.
We'll find out about your tastes as we gradually get to know you. Before we get to Does It Slap, guys, because I know that we are frothing at the genitals to redo that. Before that, we've got two pertinent questions for our new face. Jim, you're going to have to get into the spotlight straight away as we discover what your favourite year in music is, and then you're going to have to give us an undeniable banger. So, favourite year in music?
Right, it's hands down, it's 1994.
Right, okay, you're going to have to explain. It's a good year.
Which Limp Bizkit album was that?
Limp Bizkit were just a spermazoa, I believe, back in 94.
I mean, like, this year is just insane. We've got debut albums from Weezer, Hoot and the Blowfish, Elliott Smith, Portishead, Jeff Buckley, Oasis, Melt Banana, Silver Jews, Bush, debut EP from Bone Thugs and Harmony, Coolio, Millencolin, Marilyn Manson, Machine Head, Korn, In Flames, Cradle of Filth. It's fucking ridiculous. And then we've got incredible albums from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Got Crooked Rain from Pavement. We've got Pulp's breakthrough album. We've got Park Life from Blur.
Yeah.
American Recordings, Johnny Cash. Jamiroquai's Return of the Space Cowboy.
Oh,
Nirvana's MTV Unplugged.
Yeah, classic.
And obviously Martin would back me up on this if he was here, but Failure's Magnified.
Yeah, not so big on that one, but the rest of them, yeah, I mean that's a strong case there.
But then, well, I've not finished yet.
Whoa,
Because we've got in the punk sphere, we've got Lagwagon's Trashed, Smashed by the Offspring, Dookie, Sublime's Robin the Hood, Rancid's Let's Go, Punkin' Drublick by NoFX, and Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion. It goes on and on.
I really wish I picked that year. That sounds quite good.
Does sound like a great year, Jim. Well done.
When you mentioned Johnny Cash, though, the first thing I thought of was like, why isn't there a male porn star called Johnny Cash?
I'm sure there probably is.
Well, there will be now.
There should be. That's a really good one. I was like, that's amazing.
He's definitely starring in The Ring of Fire.
To delve into the metal as well,
okay.
Pantera's Far Beyond Driven came out that year, as did Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse, The Bleeding by Cannibal Corpse, and Terminal Spirit Disease by At the Gates, also released that year. It was absolutely fucking ridiculous.
I mean, if my genitals weren't frothing before, they are now. You know that like white foam on top of the sea you see sometimes? Like, my waist down is just that.
Sea spray, Alex.
Well, get ready for this one that I missed when I was just reading through my endless list. Ready to Die by the Notorious B.I.G. also came out in 1999.
Never heard it.
The Illmatic was big, released in 94 as well.
Did you mention Massive Attack released Protection or 9 Inch Nails did The Downward Spiral either?
That is on my list, The Downward Spiral, but I think 9 Inch Nails are fucking shit.
The Downward Spiral is a good album, actually. I don't love everything 9 Inch Nails have done. I saw them live 10 years ago, I think, or more than 10 years ago, and they were really good. But I don't love everything on record. They're one of those bands that you like live and you don't love everything they do on an album, like Swans.
What was that one song they had where they had a music video in black and white and he's like running through a city or something? It's the only song I've heard that I've liked by them.
I'd be surprised if that wasn't on Downward Spiral, because all of their famous ones from the 90s are on the Downward Spiral.
This has got the original version of Her. It's got Closer, so 2.
Isn't Her on Pretty Hate Machine?
Oh, hang on. I think this is going to be a case for the...
Who gives a crap? Martin isn't here to defend them. We can be as horrible about 9 Inch Nails as we want. They're fucking shit. If it's up to me, they'll be deleted from history.
It's the final track on the Downward Spiral.
Oh, it is Downward Spiral.
Fact checker 3000.
Yeah, honestly, there's been so many times where I'm like, because I've never been able to get into 9 Inch Nails, and I've just been like, I'm going to give them a fair crack. And I've done this 4 or 5 times now, and I get about 3 tracks into an album, and I'm like, this is so bad that I have to stop listening.
What's that Pig song they had? Ugh.
What, Piggy?
Oh, that song is so bad.
I like Pretty Hate Machine, and I do like With Teeth as well from 2005. That's a pretty good album. 94 also, Prince's first ever UK #1 with The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, and one of his most underrated 90s albums as well, Come. So, yeah, 94, strong year, definitely. Jim, you know the second question, you've heard the show before, so we need an undeniable banger. Can you get it past the panel tonight? Off your pop.
I'm fairly confident I can. And in fact, this undeniable banger goes to further support my case for 1994 being the best year in music, because my undeniable banger is Set You Free by Entrance.
Oh, yes. It's a banger from me.
I'm smiling just thinking about it, Jim. Yes, I agree.
That chorus is just euphoric.
Yes.
I'll give you it, but I was on the fence.
Yeah, I'm with Al.
It is good.
It's also one of those songs, to kind of support Jim here, it's one of those songs that it's always played towards the end of the night when you're on in a club. I know that's a foreign concept to us in our 30s, but when we were in our 20s, that song comes on at the end of the night, and it is one where you hug people because it sums up a great night, especially when that breakbeat hardcore drum pattern kicks in. It's just excellent. Yeah. Undeniable banger from me.
And at the end of the night, I'm usually just wank and go, can you play Intergalactic by Beastie Boys? And I get irritated when they don't.
I don't get this. I never used to go to indie club nights where they used to just stick Mr. Brightside on repeat till everyone fucked off.
It's triggering me now. Yes.
Mr. Brightside is the indie club night go-to at the end of the night every time.
I hate Mr. Brightside because everyone always says, it's Queen Bitch, but for 2006 or whatever. 2004, I think it was. And it's just not. I
actually really like it, so I'm going to be really careful here.
I will go on record to say I think Mr. Brightside is better than any Prince song.
I would agree with Al on that as well.
We're just chock full of shit opinions already. Let's move on, shall we? So, Jim, thanks for your answers there. You've done very well. That's an undeniable banger off the bat, and I don't think that's been done before, so well done.
I still can't believe I Had a Tiger didn't get it.
I know. Some people are just wrong.
That's going to hurt. I'm never going to get over that, Tom.
Sorry, mate. It's just a rubbish song.
Should we give someone another opportunity? Because I think after the roaring success of our new segment last time, we're going to play another round of Does It Slap? This time it will be between Jim, you've already given us a song tonight, and Tom, you played last time. So between Dan and Al, who wants to nominate an undeniable banger for us this evening?
Probably Morbid Angel, Where Does Slime Live?
Don't trade a podcast where the jingles are crap. So let's take a good song and ask, does it slap?
No,
it doesn't slap.
It does. It slaps
Have you guys heard
so
it?
hard.
Have you guys even heard it?
Never heard of it.
Disqualified.
All right, Bomb Funk MC, Freestyler.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
It's kind of got that kind of early drum and bass beat to it as well. Yeah, I think that's an undeniable banger.
Agreed.
Tom looks pained.
I'm really not sure. It's a real, it's not one I naturally go, yes, but I do know it straight away. I'm not going to, sing it for you.
Oh, go on.
Do the chorus. Yeah, all right, fuck it.
Yay!
Jesus, 2 undeniable bangers.
It's like there are some songs that you don't like, but that you know straight away as soon as somebody sings it, and I guess that's kind of the definition of an undeniable banger. It's like if somebody picks, I don't know, Bloodhound Gang's The Bad Touch.
Do you know what? We're having it. We're
away.
having that as well.
No, can we get the other one? What's that newest one when they were a bit unpopular?
Foxtrot Uniform Charlie Kilo was a banger too, and the Ballad of Chasey Lane.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
But The Bad Touch is the one that if you say Bloodhound Gang's The Bad Touch, right, I don't necessarily love the song, but every single person that you say that to will know the chorus from that song.
I don't think I know that song.
You do. It's the Do It Like They Do on the Discovery Channel song. There you go.
What I like about this podcast so far is that for the listeners out there, this is supposed to be about the top 10 songs in the US at the moment. So we've been talking about songs from 1994, 1999, 2001, basically things that were from when we were young. So you'll probably get the gist from this episode that we're a bunch of old men who are not quite up with the current tunes.
Hang on, we haven't done the bit where we talk about the current stuff, because I'm usually very up with the current
Tom's
stuff.
very kid with the downs. I
reckon we should do this entire podcast in 2022. Hey, it's pretty good. Hey, hey.
It's Drake trying to speak to me.
Hey.
Well, it's all about structure. We have to appeal to our various demographics as a podcast, so we're just covering all the ages.
Let's face it, no, actually, I'm not going to say that because I want people to actually listen to it rather than saying, let's face it, our demographic are like us. We're basically just comic book guy from The Simpsons.
Well,
yeah, I'm adamant right now. Tom is the only person on Earth that still listens to 65 Days of Static.
yeah. I'll agree with you on that one.
There's quite a few people subscribed to their Bandcamp. They release an EP a month thing.
We're getting old and we're out of touch when every band you like releases a new song. We go on YouTube, it's got 1,000 views. You're like, well, we really are out of touch.
So I've been listening to popular stuff as well this year. I mean, I listened to the top 10 from the US singles chart today.
Tom, you got to say it in 2022. You got to say it that way. Hey, pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm still trying to listen to 5 albums, or as much of 5 albums as I can take every week. But this year I've sort of been cramming them. So this morning the dog got me up at 5 a.m. So I listened to at least half of about 25 albums throughout the course of today. Some of them I got to the end, and one of them I listened to more than once, which I didn't think I would, but I really liked.
What was it?
That was Earl Sweatshirt.
I've listened to some Earl Sweatshirt.
I really liked it.
I liked his first album. I really liked it. He did a EP or something which was really weird, and it went a bit arty and was just not very good, and it seems like his popularity dropped off because of it.
this could come up later, but I'll just refer back to it when I want to make this point again. But there are basically, as far as I can see it, there's like two types of rap. There's we'll just stick one beat down that goes on over and over again and rap over the top of it. And then there's the sort of, I think the first album I know that really did this is like early Kanye West stuff, where like every note placement's really important and then the music is thought out underneath the rap and it's got something to say.
I would argue that jazz rap did that earlier. A lot of early Tribe Called Quest and even some of the Wu-Tang Clan's early stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not that familiar with the 90s stuff. I only really... I mean, basically my knowledge of 90s rap was like Tupac, and that was because I quite liked that, and that was about it. And Jurassic 5 and stuff like that, but that the skateboarders were listening to because that was everywhere. But like this year, Earl Sweatshirt and Kendrick Lamar, what I've listened to, I've really enjoyed both of, which is, I did not expect to like hip-hop albums. And actually going through this year, I will say this year's been really disappointing for music. Like last year, by this point, I'd listened to like 3 or 4 albums on Spotify and just gone straight out and bought them because I thought they were that good. This year, I've done that with one album, and everything else has been just like a bit disappointing. Like Arcade Fire's new album, by their standards, is really poor.
I didn't enjoy it that much. Like the slow bits were very dull. They'd gone more folky, and it wasn't what they normally
It's like
do.
if you take an Arcade Fire song and you take all the catchy bits out, then that's what the new album's like.
Yeah, so like Arcade Fire's first 3 albums are fantastic, no matter what everyone on this podcast wants to say. But then they started going electronic, and it just ruined what made Arcade Fire great. Was that sort of folksiness, let's get 10 musicians in a room and just make something anthemic. And then you put synths in and it sort of invalidates half of the musicians in the band, and then they're not anywhere near, like this album brings acoustic guitars back, which the last album didn't have really, but it's just not as good. And like there are other albums, like there's been lots that, like Porridge Radio, I was really excited for because I liked their first album last year, and it just feels like it was sort of rushed out a bit. Like I think if I was a fan of, so female singer-songwriters killed it last year, they're killing it again this year. You've got like Brimheim's released a really good album. Annie Hamilton's new album's pretty good as well. Like if I was into emo, like emo fans, if you like Funeral for a Friend or Finch, just pick like 10 albums at random that have been released this year and you'll probably be happy. There's been a couple of good hardcore punk records, like Soul Glow is pretty good, and metal is doing amazingly this year, but it's all the metal that I don't like.
Ooh, I should give me some recommendations then.
So like, oh yes, I've actually got a Spotify playlist of like stuff that like I like this year. So like Fit for an Autopsy, of their album's doing really, really, really well this year. Mammoth Weed Wizard Bastard, their album's really good, and they've got a great band name, of course. Like Rolo Tomasi, actually that's an album I really enjoyed this year. SOM, like their metal is doing really, really well this year. If you go on albumoftheyear.org and just look at the best reviewed albums of this year, like the top 10, probably 7 are metal albums. Like Voivod, I think, have released an album that's reviewing really well. Yeah, it's a very, very good year for metal and punk and emo, but like indie rock, the big guns are misfiring. Like Arcade Fire haven't done that well. Superchunk's album was all right, but they're an old band and they just sound like their old stuff. You know, it's not like the only record that's really stood out for me is Black Country New Road.
See, I didn't really like that record very much,
No.
but I totally disagree. I think this year's been really good for music. I enjoyed Chick Chick Chick's album at the weekend. I've enjoyed albums by the Kendrick Lamar album it grows on me every time I listen to it. I think Auntie Diaries is one of the most important, and I know you hate that phrase, Al, but it's one of the most important tracks for opening up a dialogue.
I hate that phrase. It's not important. You people just can't say that it's important and then it's not. You just like it a lot.
In terms of discussing transphobia in the hip hop community and how it can make progressive bounds towards a better treatment of a minority from a cultural standpoint, I think it is important in that sense. But to not dwell on that and to talk about the music, I think that the album itself is fantastic. The way it grows, the first few tracks are more about how his upbringing and his lifestyle and how he resents who he's becoming, and he gradually transitions and you can sense who he wants to be and the pressures that he's under. I think it's great. I love the closing track, Mirror. I think that's great. I really love Mother I Sober as well. I think that's really somber and fantastic for a hip hop track.
I think the thing to remember there is, like, a lot of these bands, yes, they're releasing decent albums, but like Chick Chick Chick, it's not as good as their earlier stuff. Everything.
No, it's still good.
No, it's still decent, but I'm not going to rush out and spend money on it. Like Everything. I loved their first two albums, but like their new album that came out yesterday or day before yesterday, I listened to it and I was like, it's all right, but I'm not going to go and buy it. And that's the thing. I think it's lots of this year. There's no debut that's blown my socks off. Like, I know Wet Leg are getting a lot of coverage, but I was chatting to my little brother about this yesterday, actually, because I played him he was listening to the new Porridge Radio album with me in the car when I picked him up from Bristol, and he was like, it's all right, but the instrumentation isn't as, these indie bands' instrumentation is not as interesting as the bands we were listening to 15, 20 years ago. And so there's no debut that's blowing my socks off. And the band's releasing follow-ups. Their follow-ups are decent, but they're just not as good as what they've done before, and it then or not even different to what they're not doing a radical departure, and they're not improving on a previous formula. So it's just a bit disappointing, and I think I've felt that with pretty much all of this year. Like, there's stuff to like, but
I think some of the big releases have not disappointed as much as they did last year. I think we really suffered in the summer last year when both Drake's album and Kanye's album were overly long duds, really.
If it was over 30 seconds, Drake's is too long.
Well, we'll get onto that in a bit. But
there were really good debuts last year. I know you didn't like it, but Sugar Horse's album was a great debut album. Like Pompoko, I don't know if that was a debut or not. That was really good. And then there were some returns to form, like one of my nominations, The World's a Beautiful Place. They hadn't released anything for years and came back with an album that I absolutely love, and a lot of people like it even if you don't. So that's the thing. There's nothing. I mean, that said, Loathe dropped a single earlier this year. They've got an album that should drop hopefully this year, and I think towards the end of this year there's some singles coming out that are really promising for stuff later this year, but so far I've not listened to anything and gone, I have to go and buy that. Whereas like last year, I think I listened to a lot of records and I probably went and bought 15 or 20 on either vinyl or CD or cassette or whatever because I liked it so much. And I've done that once this year because if you're a hip hop fan or an R&B fan, yeah, it's probably a really good year. If you're a metal fan, a punk fan, yeah, really good year. If you're into the more experimental indie stuff and the post rock stuff that I want to listen to in my own time, it's not been great yet. Like Zeal and Ardor, I loved their first album, really excited for the second album. They mix gospel and black metal, and their first record is amazing. And their album this year is good, but I'd still rather listen to the first one.
Yeah, I think I get your point about it being, it's a better year for pop than it is for kind of niche rock.
But then we've had a new Nordic Giants album, and that's pretty good. Yeah.
It's really good. But I still argue it's not as good as their last one. This is the problem.
Florence and the Machine's got a decent release out as well.
I do like that. That's probably better than the last album, but not as good as the debut.
I really like Black Midi's new track, which is called Welcome to Hell.
Oh, I've not heard that. I do like Black Midi, though.
I quite like the track. There's something about Black Midi I don't really get. Like, and I know that I should get it, but it's like somebody doing a Scott Walker impersonation over the top of a really scrappy indie band, and it just doesn't always work for me.
Oh, Black Midi, new album.
I liked the Black Keys new album as well. That was quite good. They always release a decent record. It's not as good as El Camino, but it's a fantastic release. We'll move away from talking about new stuff to find out what's hip and happening. Tom, you've already told us that you haven't been able to listen to as much music, but it sounds like you've been listening to a lot. So let's find out what everyone else has been doing. Al, what have you been up to?
What, music-wise or just in general?
Give us the download, man.
Still painting my Warhammer 40,000 army.
Yeah.
Go Imperial Fists. Go Pro Imperium will be in this household. I listened to, I think it was Album of the Year nominations, not last year, but a year before, like that Protest the Hero album. Can't remember what it's called now.
Fact checker.
Beep, 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 beep.
It's called Palimpsest.
Yes. I was at work and I listened to it on the way in my car, and then I listened to it another 3 times whilst working. So I really, really like the album. I really should have put down my top 3, but yeah, it's pretty good. I've also been listening to quite a lot of, I didn't share it in our group, but I don't think anyone cared or listened, but it's like a local rapper who my brother works with.
Detax.
Yeah, Detax he's called.
I listened to it. It's pretty good.
I know, I bought the album because I was a bit pissed, and my brother said, I should listen to it, and I liked what I heard. But yeah, just a bloke from Cornwall making some pretty good rap music. Yeah, I might be listening to is... of course, I cannot... There we go. It's called New Eden. I'd recommend giving it a go. I really like it. It's nice to kind of listen to a rap album when they have a slight cadence of Janniness around here sometimes.
Yeah, I like that. There's some really good local hip hop acts. I like Calligraphy as well. I really like the Scribes, but everybody local likes the Scribes. They're a fantastic Bristol hip hop act. Dan, what have you been doing?
I did, for the first time in a few years, actually watch Eurovision, which was interesting. I believe the quote that Graham Norton said was that Sam Ryder has changed the way the UK views Eurovision, or is viewed at Eurovision, which sounds very pompous. I thought it was like an average song. It was okay, and apparently it was so amazing, and we should have won.
It's a high bar for Eurovision.
Yeah.
There was some much better tracks on there, I thought. Quite liked the Czech Republic, quite liked the Romanian one, the Spanish one, for other reasons. Even the French one, which I think was like almost weird Breton rap, which was quite good, but it didn't do very well with the judges. Ukraine was all right. I'm glad they won for the story. They're obviously going through some terrible times, but it wasn't that great, to be honest with you, either. Anyway, Eurovision was Eurovision. It was as mental as it's always been.
Yeah, it's never really been my thing. I've never really got Eurovision. I think it's difficult because as somebody who loves music so much, I'm always listening to new music now, and I can't bring myself out of listening to like jazz or something like that to suddenly go and listen to Eurovision. It's weird because I can appreciate some Eurodance and some really quite naff pop music from the 90s, but Eurovision, I don't know, there's just something about the very design of it just for a competition, and it's not really, I don't really think it gives any respect to the musical artistry of any of it. It's just a bit of a silly goof, and I don't like that.
Well, it's not about the music, is it? It's about the performance.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that style of performance.
I think it's very rare that a track from Eurovision, it'll get played all over the radio in the whole lead up to Eurovision, and then it will chart round about when Eurovision is, and then it will disappear forever. And there's very few tracks that hang around. And now anyone's mentioned Eurovision, I've just got... So I had on cassette Huge Hits 96, which had Gina G's Ooh Ah just a little bit on it.
Yeah.
Now that's fucking...
Banger.
Every time anyone mentions Eurovision, that gets stuck in my head. So thank you for that, everybody.
Well, it's a banger. I'd love to have that song stuck in my head.
I think the band, is it Maneskin, like that one last year, have done quite well for themselves, the Italian band?
Yeah, they ended up all over MTV. MTV have this thing called MTV Push, and they Maneskin ended up on that, and then basically in every advert break on MTV they have something by them on it. Wet Leg are the current MTV Push artist, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, that Wet Leg record, I mentioned it before, is quite good, but it doesn't blow my mind. Similarly with the Porridge Radio album that you recommended,
I love the singles, but I didn't like the album because I think the choruses are just her repeating one line over and over. It sounds like an album that was rushed out after a first album, which it basically was. It's still really good. I love her vocal delivery. She sounds like a female Robert Smith.
I just thought she sounded like a poor man's Republica.
So she has a very similar vocal affectation to Robert Smith in the 80s.
Kind of, I get that now that you've mentioned it.
I really like that, but I don't think it doesn't quite follow up that well on the first album. I think if you're going female-fronted indie bands, I think Pom Poko, who did an album last year, and they released an EP this year that's still really good. And I think that album, there's a few tracks on it you could cut out and have a fucking banging EP. But I think a few of them I just feel a bit thrown together with just like one line repeated in the chorus. Like when I first put it on, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to get into this year now. And because it starts with an intro track and then the debut single off the album. And then like it just sort of stays the same from there. I really like it. I will listen to it again, unlike a lot of stuff I've listened to this year, but I will stream it. I'm not going to go and buy the vinyl.
Jim, what have you been doing?
Well, as you guys know, I'm pretty into my punk music. We had Manchester Punk Festival a few weeks ago, so I was dragging myself all over Manchester watching punk bands, and it was amazing because that's the first load of gigs I've been able to go to since COVID. I did have the joy of Alpha Male Tea Party as my first gig post-COVID, which was amazing.
Good choice.
but yeah, this is my first sort of big batch of loads of gigs back to back, and it was just a Friday of all these punks happily skipping into a venue, and then a Saturday of a load of punks looking fed up with life because they'd gone too hard on the Friday.
Any standout acts?
Yeah, we saw this local band called Animal Byproducts that were fucking great. They were just in this little room underneath a bar, and they call themselves parp punk because it's just dirty punk with a trumpet. And yeah, like that was probably the band of the weekend because they were just so much fun.
I'll have to listen to them. I can't be on board with a punk band with a trumpet player. Do you remember, was it Yellow Card, that old pop punk band with a fucking violinist? Ugh.
Yeah, but you like loads of fucking punk bands that have brass sections.
Yeah, ska punk.
Yeah, but when you described it, I was expecting like a proper like crusty punk band, like the Subhumans with a trumpet player. I was like, that doesn't work.
Oh, I'd love the Subhumans with a trumpet.
We had a big anniversary a few days ago. It was the 25th anniversary of OK Computer. I don't have a lot to say about it because every time I think of Radiohead, I think of the Father Ted skit about how depressed somebody could be listening to Radiohead.
They play exit music from a film.
But I don't know if any of you guys would have more important things to say about it.
It's a great album. It's not my favourite Radiohead album.
Oh, it is my favourite Radiohead album by a long way.
It is good, but I think if you force me to listen to one, I'm going to pick the Bends over OK Computer. I think it's difficult though. They're both great albums. I also like Kid A, and King of Limbs is good as well.
Oh, I hated King of Limbs so much.
I quite like that. It was a bit dancey, a bit different.
Oh, speaking of Radiohead, Johnny Greenwood and Tom York have a new band, and they released an album under the name The Smile. It's sort of like the weird love child of the Bends and King of Limbs, really.
Okay.
I quite like it, but I think the thing for me with Radiohead is OK Computer is their seminal album, and I think the reason I like it the most is because it's the heaviest they ever got. It's the loudest their guitars ever got. It's probably the best his voice sounded on that album.
I would agree with you there. The vocals are phenomenal.
Yeah, it's probably the best his voice sounded. I respect the experimentation and that rabbit hole they went down with Kid A, but OK Computer was like this sort of peak where the experimentalism and the songcraft worked really well together before it all went downhill. And it's like, it's whenever you hear anybody talk about Radiohead album, it's like, it's a return to form. as if any of their albums were particularly bad, but like I remember Hail to the Thief, everybody going, oh, it's going back to the sound of OK Computer because of how much of a misstep the music press thought Kid A and Amnesiac were. And like OK Computer's before all of that negativity, and I think it's no surprises, you know, should be on our undeniable banger list.
I will happily pass that.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah.
I mean, you could go Paranoid Android instead if you wanted, but No Surprises is the one that everybody knows.
I would go Karma Police myself, or Electioneering.
Well,
I'll probably go Where Does Slime Live.
So Karma Police I love, but No Surprises is the one that, you know, if you picked a random person off the street and asked them to sing a Radiohead song to you, they'd know the names of other ones, but No Surprises is the one they'd know the melody.
Creep, sure.
Well, yeah, maybe, but like I like the band, refuse to admit that exists.
I think we talked about this before, but I get annoyed by that. You fucking wrote it, you put it on a CD, you put it as your lead single. Stop pretending you don't like it, you dicks.
But to me, I agree with you on that, but I think on that album, Just is a better song than Creep. Controversial opinion.
Yeah, isn't Just from the Bends?
I don't think it is. It's not. It might not be that one. It's the opening track on Pablo Honey.
Just is from the Bends.
Oh, it's not that. That's I've got the wrong name. There is another track. There is another track on that album that I prefer. I prefer You to Creep. That's it.
In terms of anniversaries as well, a couple of passings that we've had recently over the weekend. Firstly, lesser known perhaps, although shouldn't be, Bernard Wright, who was the son of Roberta Flack and a jazz keyboard player. He's most famous for the 1981 song Spinning, sampled by Skilo. I wish I was a little bit taller. I
like the song.
Yeah, that's a great track. And Habbo Globo Tribbin, which is a funk classic as well. That's a great song. So fantastic musician in the 70s and 80s especially. And also Vangelis as well. Almost a pioneer of synthwave, things that we've mentioned last time, that bands like Kavinsky, well, it's not a band, but people like Kavinsky and all the kind of vaporwave stuff. Vangelis's Blade Runner soundtrack is massively influential in that, but it's not my favourite thing that he did. I have to admit, I'm a sucker for the Chariots of Fire theme.
It will come as no surprise to you that I'm a huge Vangelis fan.
Weirdly, not John Anderson and Vangelis.
John and Vangelis, no. But my favourite piece by him is a track called Hymn. And it is on a film soundtrack, but I can't remember which film it's from. But yeah, there's a track called Hymn, and actually that's the piece I'm going to be playing at my granddad's funeral tomorrow. Because I recorded a version of me playing it on a piano on cassette for him when I was about 10. So yeah, I like Vangelis, and actually his soundtrack for L'Apocalypse des Animaux is really good. But before he was a composer, he was a band called Aphrodite's Child, who, if you don't know, you should check out, because they are, like, of that sort of late 60s, early 70s rock bands, they're probably one of the best, but nobody really knows who they are. I think it's Demis Roussos is the singer as well, before he turns into a fat Greek man. He was always a Greek man before he turned into a fat man who sings comedy songs. But yeah, before he became a parody of Greek music, he was I believe Demis Roussos is the singer in Aphrodite's Child. I'm going to have to fact check that before I make myself sound like a twat.
Fact checker's getting all the action today.
It's because I'm making unfounded assertions.
You never normally do that.
No, never.
Never.
It was Demis Roussos was the bass player in Aphrodite's Child. Aphrodite's album 666 is really, really good. It's one of the albums I grew up on because my mum had it on vinyl and used to play it to us. It is really good.
Top 10 US Billboard Hot 100. Are we ready?
Born ready.
Are we ever ready for this? Straight into it. At number 10, it's a song called Mi Porto Benito. It's featuring Chencho Corleone, formerly of reggaeton duo Plan B. Now, Mi Porto Benito means I'll behave myself in Spanish, and it's from the album Un Verano Sin Ti. by Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, who was born on the 10th of March 1994, but he's best known as Bad Bunny. He's a Latin trap artist. This is a song that has a very typical reggaeton beat, which seems to be very much back in style after Despacito by Luis Fonsi and Justin Bieber ruled the airwaves back in 2017. It seems the kind of Latin vibe reggaeton beat is still very much alive. What does everybody think of this one?
Well, I think I listened to all of this in the wrong order because I started from number one and worked my way down. And the first note I have on this song is, please, no more Bad Bunny.
I did the exact same thing. And my first note is, oh shit, Bad Bunny again.
Yeah, we might as well get it out of the way now because Bad Bunny's going to come up a few more times further on down the list. So he's quite popular at the moment. It does make it very difficult to kind of separate all the different songs that are in the list because they do fade into each other quite. There's very little to differentiate between some of these songs. One of them's a little bit different. We'll get onto that later. But I think this is, we were saying earlier that this is very much a sign of streams ruling the charts, and that this wasn't released as a single. It's an album track that's so popular and has been downloaded so many times or streamed so many times on Spotify, Apple Music, those kind of places, that it ends up top 10.
You'll notice that the tracks that are in the top 10 are all in the first half of the album. Because it's basically what happens is it counts as a stream if you listen to a certain amount of it. So anything that's good enough in the first half of a popular album to not be skipped will make the top 10. And it's the problem I have with this Let's Count Spotify, because you had Ed Sheeran's, was it Divide, had pretty much the entire top 10 was Ed Sheeran tracks, and Drake, because they're allowing streams. And yeah, fair enough, it's a representation of what's popular. But on the other hand, the UK top 40 years ago and the US Billboard 100 was a way of looking at, it was all these bands who put their best work forward as their single, so you would I discovered Deftones Minerva because I discovered Deftones really properly again through Minerva because it charted at number 38 in the UK top 40 or something like that, and then the music video played and I was like, oh, I forgot about this band from 3 years ago, I need to go and buy this record. I bought my first Nickelback record, the only one I ever bought. Well, yeah, I know but how you remind me was when they played that on Top of the Pops. It was like, oh, this is really good. Whereas now you've got this position where Top of the Pops wouldn't work if the entire top 10 was one artist. You may as well just have an Ed Sheeran concert, which nobody wants to see.
Drake had 9 of the top 10 a while back when this album came out.
Fucking hell.
Don't worry, that's not this week, Al.
Spotify's algorithm could do it because you've got stuff that is released as singles, and if you look at some of the bigger acts, like the Arcade Fire, a good example because they're the first one that comes to my head. The Lightning Part 1, the Lightning Part 1 and 2 was released as a single, and if you look at the number of plays that's got under the heading of a single and the number of plays it's got in the album, it's the same. Spotify knows it's the same track and it was released as a single. So just count the ones released as singles. I don't want to listen to fucking Drake filler when I'm listening to the top 10. I don't want to listen to Bad Bunny filler when I'm listening to be fair, I don't want to listen to Bad Bunny at all. But I definitely don't want to listen to his filler tracks, which have a cameo from another artist that may as well have not happened because it took all of 15 seconds.
It wasn't the best 15 seconds of the track either, so it wasn't a highlight.
Are you trying to say that Chencho Corleone shouldn't have been on that track, Tom?
I'd rather have had Michael Corleone on that.
Having her on that track, the edit has got her in for 15 seconds. Her contribution ends up being pointless, and it's why? It's. I mean, to be fair, so my notes on this track go like this. I really dislike this type of singing. It was really niche in the 1990s when they had flamenco guitars underneath it, but now they've just put a shit trap beat underneath it, and it's even worse. And why the fuck would you auto-tune a rapper?
Honestly, the thing I hate about it is I didn't like this song at all because it's just not. Apparently, I just don't like Latino sort of like Latin music. I just, I don't know if
You're a racist.
No, apparently I'm not a big fan of it, right? But did anyone else have like that few seconds where they weren't sure if it was in English or not because they were so used to mumble rapping? Where at first I was like, is this in English? Because it's like I was like, I think it's English, it might be. And then it wasn't. Like the actual, like the main dude, he wasn't so bad. Like Bad Bunny wasn't that bad. But like whoever's doing the high bits in the middle, like the high vocals,
It sounds like Ozzy Osbourne doing Puerto Rican.
Oh, it's the most irritating vocals I've heard in so long. I was like, this is awful.
The Loco Train.
I think, though, there are 4 Bad Bunny songs on this top 10. Let's just spoil that right now. This is the 3rd best out of those 4 for me. This is slightly better than one of those. That doesn't say very much, though. They're all terrible. Spoiler alert.
So like the beats are like the programmed drum beats are just programmed by like somebody who wishes they knew how to program dubstep. You know, it's like the same BPM but like half the number of instruments because clearly they don't have a clue what they're doing. Like I've got a lot in some ways I've got respect for Bad Bunny. He must be living his best life at the moment. He's got like 4 top 10 tracks in the US. He's just been cast in the new Spider-Man film and he's wrestling in the WWE.
Yeah, he's a former 24/7 champion and he had a match at WrestleMania.
This album just feels like a cynical cash-in. It just feels thrown together like it's almost like somebody said, speak into the mic, we'll stick a shitload of auto-tune underneath it, we'll put a trap beat underneath it, and 94 million people will listen to it on Spotify.
Work for Drake.
So you 94 million people, including us now, are all idiots.
And if you can't think of any words, you can just say A.
Hey.
In Spanish.
Also, most of the people who are going to listen to this don't speak Spanish, so I have no idea what he sings about.
Well, for the whole time, like, 'cause I did listen. I watched it on YouTube, and I had the subtitles on. Yeah, you're not missing anything. It's just the usual, just horse shit that you get in most modern trap music.
Trap braggadocio.
Is this guy like just massive in like the Spanish-speaking community in America, and that's why he's popular, or does just everyone seem to agree he's good?
I think so. I think the American charts have always had a kind of Latin element to their music. That's why you can get like bands, I don't know, like Los Lobos in the 80s and things like that. There's usually a flavour of the month in America which has got some sort of Latin heritage to it. You can trace it back as far as things like
Hips Don't Lie.
No, I mean it goes back.
Bebo Gilberto.
You've got people in the 70s. You've got Santana, and late 60s. You've got Santana. There's always been a Latin alternative to what's presented in the mainstream. So when you've had blues rock, you've had Latin rock, and Latin pop has kind of emerged in the 90s.
Ricky Martin and Enrique Iglesias.
Yeah, Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many Latino artists. Shakira, you mentioned, being another one. They have a lifespan in America. They don't necessarily over here. Some of the bigger hits become smashes, but it's not so well known over here. I think that's perhaps why 4 of them are in this top 10.
The Spotify thing that we were talking about, where you can have several tracks from one album taken over the charts, is a problem. But if we were being really argumentative and trying to see the other side of it, I guess you could argue that sort of unknown tracks can become more popular through this method. So a track that's on the album that wasn't designed as a single but maybe it's just really good can sort of rise to the surface because it's a big band and they've got another single out.
I don't think this meets that metric, though.
Oh yes, no, it clearly does. This is such a classic song.
I agree that there are lots of bands who like, because when I first heard this track and I hadn't looked into the fact that it wasn't released as a single, I was just like, oh, I'll listen to the rest of the album. Maybe they've just picked shit singles and like there'll be a nice deep cut on it. No, there isn't. Like there are some albums where there are deep cuts that are better than the singles, you know, like pretty much any Smashing Pumpkins album, they pick their singles awfully. To be fair, the last couple of Smashing Pumpkins albums have been awful, but like
pick their albums awfully as well.
Well, no, their 90s albums are classic for a reason, but like, yeah, but they they pick their singles pretty badly in general. Like the best songs on the albums are usually not the singles, and like Manic Street Preachers had a little bit of a habit of doing that at times as well.
I don't know. I thought they picked some really good singles, Manic Street Preachers.
From the mid-90s onwards, but prior to that, not so much. So yeah, like that's the thing. Sometimes the deep cuts are better, but your single is supposed to be your gateway to the band. So I don't see the point in including potential deep cuts on a best-selling album, because it just reduces the chances of somebody else getting their music heard. Now, I know that unknown acts aren't going to break the top 10 in general, but unknown bands might break the top 100 if it's not full. But I bet you if you went down the whole of the top 100, the whole of this album will be on there. And it's just taking the chance away from other music, and it's shit. So, you know.
But to kind of support what Dan was saying, I mean, famously, Led Zeppelin didn't release any singles. So they may have seen, a band such as Led Zeppelin may have seen more success and through...
Well, they would now, but then they got success then through radio plays. You didn't need to release a single.
It also kind of adds to their aura that they didn't release a single and that they were an album's at.
It also makes it much easier as a record collector if you don't release singles. My Smashing Pumpkins collection is obscene because of the number of singles those bastards released.
Well, should we say then, like, I reckon we should probably do this on every track. Have a vote, who liked it against who didn't like it, and which way it goes, we can decide if it's good or not. Yeah. So I'll start this one. Thumbs down, this song's shite.
Yeah, I'm with Al.
I'm gonna hold my thumb in the middle because I don't think it was terrible. The way I approach this is I listened to it because it's the top 10. I prepared myself for pop. I was like, this is going to be pop. Forget all the like jazz funk and jazz fusion and funk and R&B neo soul that you've been listening to. Go in and this is a pop record. And can I see this being played as background music in a club? Yeah, I mean, you bop along to it. It's not offensive in that regard. It's nothing spectacular. So yeah, thumb in the middle for me. Not my thumb's not going anywhere.
And it is bad. It's not the worst Bad Bunny track of the 4 Bad Bunny tracks I've ever heard, but it's near that.
That is glowing praise.
Like it's not the worst.
I listened to the whole album.
You listened to the whole album? You're serious?
Yeah, because I wanted to check if he just picked singles badly, and like the whole album is fucking bullshit.
It's 81 minutes long.
I know. I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning because the dog needed a shit. So I had a lot of music listening time. I listened to the whole album and I hated every second of those 81 minutes and I wanted to rip my own ears off. Also, I just really wanted to give him some MDMA because the guy just sounds stoned and bored the whole time. It's literally like listening to somebody putting auto-tune on Jordan Peterson.
The masculinity, man.
I don't know how to follow that.
You know, sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just doing a bit of research, and it looks like there are 23 tracks on the album, and I counted 22 that are in the top 100. But I am bad at counting, so it could have been all 23.
Maybe that 23rd song is a deep cut, you know.
To be fair, anybody who gets past the first 10 tracks needs their fucking ears examined.
Either that or a shot at the 24/7 championship in WWE.
Or they're listening to it, or they're music journalists listening to it to review it.
But the 4 songs that are in the top 10 are the first 4 songs from the album. So like you say, people get through a bit of it and then they turn it off because it's terrible. But those first 4 are near the beginning, so they sort of keep it going for a bit.
If this album is a massive cash-in, like you say, like... surely, why are there 23 tracks on it? Like, surely you'd get to 15 tracks and you'd be like, that'll do, boys.
Yeah, it's not exactly songs in the key of life, is it?
It had 356.66 million official streams in the US, the most for any album since Certified Lover Boy by Drake in September of last year. So it's a big album. Like, how can we be so wrong? Or how can these 356 million streamers be so wrong?
It's just not for us.
But then the last track on it has got the most listens. It's got over 1 billion listens.
That's like 1/7 of the planet have listened to that song.
Yeah, at some point we must be wrong. 5 against a billion is
It's the Seymour Skinner thing that you put up earlier. It's not us, it's the children who are wrong.
I'm pretty sure there were a lot of, when we did the UK singles charts, a lot of those tracks chart because they're the right BPM for Zumba.
Yeah, but you know me, I like a bit of Zumba music, and this is not Zumba music.
But maybe there's something like that. Maybe it's like on in gym. Maybe people are putting it on their workout mix because like if you're one of these people who go to the gym to walk on a treadmill, you're not actually working out. You're just there to like drink water and walk on a treadmill to make yourself feel better about life. This is about the right BPM for that.
I suppose so.
Poser music.
Yeah, except like Black Country New Roads poser music, and that's actually good.
I don't know. I'd argue that is definitely in the same category.
It's poser music.
Get out, Whittle, get out.
Yeah, get out. James will back me up with DCNR.
Don't worry, we won't talk this much about the other tracks.
I mean, we'll probably have to move on, but there's one thing I've noticed, I think, from doing like other top 10s where with the American stuff in our top 10, I'm having just a really difficult time with just American popular music at the moment. Like even when we did our British top 10, there's a few American ones in there, and the British ones we all tended to like more than the American ones. And I think we're missing something like in our culture or something, because like I can't even grasp how people like this shite.
Yeah, I don't understand, because in the 90s in Britain we followed America, like Nirvana took over the world, you know, and so British culture tended to follow American for a long time. Well, it always went in waves because we had the British invasion in the 60s, and so it tends to go in waves. And I think at the moment there's not really any reciprocation at the moment. Like, yes, I mean the Americans seem to get Ed Sheeran and one other person who'll appear on this list. Yeah, but I think at the moment there's a bit more of a divide between Britain and America musically than there has been.
If you look at the top 10, 3 of the top 10 in both charts are the same.
Anyway, we'll move on to track number 9.
Yes, please.
We're going to have to come back to Bad Bunny. About Damn Time is the lead single from the upcoming album Special by Detroit rapper and singer Melissa Vivian Jefferson, born April 27th, 1988, and better known as 3-time Grammy winner Lizzo. This is an infectious funk track, peaked at number 4 in the UK and has received the greatest of all accolades. It's become a meme on TikTok. It sounds like a cross between Good Times by Chic and I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan. I love the slap bass. This is where my interest was piqued.
Can we argue the fact you said singer rapper? Can we take away the rapper bit, because she literally raps like Robbie Williams?
Nah,
She does.
Honestly,
I can't listen to this song with a straight face when you posted that in the Signal group.
yeah, the singing's
And I
great.
respect
The actual song, I love it. But when she does that rap, it reminds me of that rap that Robbie Williams does. There's one line she's got, and it just hit me. I went, you know what? She can't rap. Sorry, she can't. She's terrible at rapping. But
I strongly disagree. But...
oh, listen to that rap, and then listen to the Robbie Williams. What's the one where he does like serial monogamy? What's that one?
Are you talking about Rude Box?
No, it's earlier than that.
Early Robbie Williams rapping.
Rock DJ?
Yeah, it's that one.
Yes,
It's Rock
yeah.
DJ.
She raps like he raps on Rock DJ in that. There's one she doesn't do it for long, but she does it long enough for me to go, wow, that is Rap DJ or Rock DJ or whatever.
Rock DJ would be a good
And it was
follow-up
literally
track.
that. And as soon as I realised it, I just couldn't listen to that bit in the middle. I just had to stop. And I was like, oh.
I'm with Al on this, actually.
But that track is devoid of every single thing that this track has. I mean, this track's production is amazing. And I just think the whole thing feels fun and exactly what pop music needs to be. And the Robbie Williams song is very, very stale and dull production. And I can see, there's going to be similarities in some of the cadence, but I mean, she's got likable personality and Robbie Williams has got smarmy arrogance.
Yeah, but you got to remember, Robbie Williams has been universally slated for not being able to rap. Okay? If she sounds like him, I feel like we get to universally slate her for not being able to rap.
This Lizzo track, it's really well made. You could say the same about Robbie Williams, but this track, instantly forgettable. I couldn't hum you the chorus. Like I as soon as the song started playing, I just listened to about 3 seconds and went, I bet Dan fucking loves this.
Yeah, every second of it. I woke up with it in my head this morning.
It's got everything in a song that you love.
Yeah, it's a perfect pop song.
For what you listen to in a pop song, but like...
It's funky, isn't it? It's got disco vibes.
The things I don't like about it, okay, are that, for me, the pop songs that I love, and there are some, when we do a 1987 episode eventually, you'll discover there's quite a few pop songs I really love, because I nominated some kind of out there pop songs in my list. But
so current stuff then.
No. So, but it's like, actually there's one song on this list that I do really, really like. But I want a dynamic lift into the chorus, which I don't think this had. So my favourite pop songs have a real dynamic lift into the chorus. It's got a real swell and the chorus kicks in. And it's that quiet, loud dynamic that really gets me. And this song doesn't have it, because funk doesn't do that in general.
Because funk doesn't need to do that, Tom.
No, well, it needs... So a funk groove doesn't pull me in the same way that I don't like blues, because a blues scale doesn't pull me in either. So I was listening to this going, I'm really impressed that she plays her own flute part, because that flute part's actually not that easy to play. And I was listening to the bass player going, I mean, he is just slap wanking the whole way through.
Yeah, but it sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah, the way they've mixed the bass in is really good. He's not trying to hold a groove, particularly with his slap bass playing on it, but he is playing amazingly. It's Ricky Reed, I think he's called. Like, the bass playing on it is incredible. But he's mimicking people like Lewis Johnson, who play much more of a group, like Marcus Miller and Lewis Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with
playing more of a riff, whereas this feels a bit more like a guy playing a slap bass solo for the entire song. But it's really impressive. Like, don't get me wrong, like, that guy's bass playing is like top tier through that track. Like, really, really well played, really well produced. Doesn't do anything for me. I don't remember very much. I couldn't sing it to you.
Genuinely,
but I wrote
that one bit that goes in verse 2 there. In a minute, I'ma need a sentimental man or woman to pump me up. It's stuck in my head and it won't go away. And there's nothing I can do, because I think that every time I listen to any song, that will forever be verse 2 for every song, and it won't go anywhere, and I'm done. I think my music listening days have been ruined because it's an earworm from hell, and I love it.
I think this might be the best track in the whole 10.
Yeah.
It's really good.
It's
close to a couple others, but this is just so catchy. I'd love to be on a dance floor grooving to this. This is great. And I don't do that very often.
And it's the only song in the top 10 that's just like groove the entire way through. And it's fun. And it's nice to see hear some actual real instruments in a fucking pop song.
That kind of thing is coming back into R&B through things like Silk Sonic last year. So it's good to see that funk is definitely going mainstream again, and it's organic funk instead of the synth funk that we had in like 2013 with like Uptown Funk and things like that. They're going for the more organic sounding 70s sound, and I like that.
I mean, I thought it was okay. I did quite like it, apart from terrible Robbie Williams rapping. It was okay. For the first time ever on doing these top 10s, I put it on a playlist and listened to the top 10 probably about 10 times. So the problem is, even though I didn't like it, I'll still recognise it and hum along to bits now. I disagree with Tom. I do think it's quite catchy, the chorus. I know it doesn't have, like you say, much of a swell, but I still found myself humming it, dancing around whilst doing my dishes. I thought it was okay. I don't necessarily think, for the style of music it is, I don't think it's necessarily that good a song compared to other songs in this exact style, which, like you say, is kind of popular at the moment. But it was good enough. It was just nice to hear a fun song which wasn't up its own ass or some teenager mumbling through some completely incoherent lyrics. So it was quite nice. But yeah, it's alright. 7 out of 10 for me.
I give it it's a strong 9.5 as a single. Like, it's a fun thumbs up if we're doing it by Owl's metrics. Double thumbs up. I love Lizzo anyway. I loved Boys. Juice is fantastic. She was even featured, and get your drinks at the ready, she was featured on Prince's 2014 album with Third Eye Girl, Plectrum Electrum, as a rapper back then, and she was fantastic in that cameo appearance, a very early cameo appearance in her career. So Lizzo, for me, one of the artists, I'll definitely be downloading her album. She's one of the artists that I look forward to new releases from every time. Thumbs up.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it.
Sound endorsement.
No, it's compared to a lot of the other stuff in the top 10. Like, it's probably, comparatively, if you put it on a scale, it's probably a 6 or a 7. But that's because what the rest of it was so bad. If you put this track album of the year type thing where there's other stuff, it's like a 5. It's totally okay. I don't mind it, but I just think the melody just doesn't grab me. That's like other stuff that she's done that came on afterwards when I left it running on Spotify. I like a lot more than this, I should say.
I'm going 8 out of 10 or big thumbs up.
As am I.
That's what I like to hear. So
we'll get some pass then.
From Lizzo's Big Energy to another Big Energy, because number 8 is the single Big Energy by Latto. Born Alyssa Michelle Stevens on December the 22nd, 1998. She's known as Latto, formerly Mulatto. She's an American rapper from Atlanta, Georgia, and this is the lead single from album 777, as is produced by alleged creep Dr. Luke. Not great in that respect. I don't know if you guys are aware of Dr. Luke, but
he produced a lot of what's her name?
He worked with Lady Gaga. Kesha is the big one, because she's made some pretty serious allegations against him, which aren't great to read about in any sense. But we'll try and get past his involvement in the song. It peaked at number 3 earlier this year when it was the highest charting hip-hop single from a female artist since March 2021. And it samples heavily, this song. Millennials will know it as Fantasy by Mariah Carey, and those of us that go further back will know it as Genius of Love by the Tom Tom Club, which was an offshoot of Talking Heads. So one of the greatest songs of all time. Weirdly, though, they haven't sampled the famous drum beat from Genius of Love, which you can hear on Mark Morrison's Return of the Mac. Those are the drums. They haven't taken that out of that song, and they've given it a new drum beat. It's the keyboards, and they've kind of steered into the fantasy reference by Mariah Carey instead. She's actually featured on a remix of the single, but we're talking about the standard version here. So what are our thoughts on Latto's Big Energy?
I love this song.
I think this song might be my favourite of the bunch. I thought it was fucking brilliant.
It's very
Surprise,
good.
surprise,
It's
I
excellent.
didn't like it either.
I thought we were going to get an undeniable banger for a second.
She
It wasn't
raps
even-
about
to be-
William
to be
Bums.
fair,
I
it
don't
wasn't
like
even
it.
that.
I did have this song on in the house, and the boys were in the next room, and I suddenly had to close the door when I realised what the lyrics were all about. I was like,
Oh man,
this
this
is
song
not
is so good.
I don't know if there's a radio edit where I can't imagine the radio edit. It must all be just blurred out. But the main version wasn't suitable for them, so I closed the door.
I was listening to it and I was going, oh, the bass line's quite cool, and then found out it was ripping off Tom Tom Club, and I was like, yeah, she's
Not ripping off,
Yeah,
sampling.
it's very much it's a clear, overt sample, and they want it to be recognised.
I just found it boring because it didn't really go any. It's like it's the problem I have with a lot of hip hop is that it creates a vibe and it sticks with it for 3 minutes and it doesn't really go anywhere. And I want it to go somewhere and it doesn't.
How can you say boring about a song that says "hood bitch, fuck you in a bonnet, I'm a busted on a pole like Onyx"? How can you say that? How is that boring?
That's true. It's a deep message. Yes. Maybe.
I really
Maybe
feel that
think.
big dick energy coming from you now, Dan.
Because as soon
right.
as they start rapping about fucking, my brain just switches off. Because I don't want to hear people rapping about sex. I don't want to hear people singing about sex. It's why I hate Prince most of the time, because I don't want to hear people singing about sex. I don't want to hear people rapping about sex. I quite like having it, don't get me wrong. But like,
I bet you don't. I bet you just grimace the whole time. Like, ugh.
Well, no, I do enjoy
Somehow
it.
this is
I don't
more
wanna hear-
awkward than the time we did a podcast called The Cacophony Sessions Makes a Sex Playlist. Like, this is more awkward.
This is the best rap song I've heard in ages. Like, it's the amount of rap I hear now, it's alright, it's quite good. This is one of the only ones I've heard in a long time where, like, what's that other, who was that other female rapper we talked about last year?
Cardi B.
Yeah, like, for me...
It's better than that. I'll give it
Yeah,
that.
for me, I just think she's a way better version of that. Like, it was catchy. The actual song was great. The rapping was really good, and I could listen to it all day and repeat. I think it's just proper catchy.
Yeah, and there's actually some interesting rhymes. It's not like there's so many of the songs in this top 10 where they've just done the laziest rhyming you can possibly think of, and this has some creative, interesting.
I would agree with you
Such a good flow of
entirely on that.
rhymes.
Like
it's
she
just
is
good.
a much better rapper than.
Oh, I
Cardi B.
disagree. But only because of the sheer volume of Cardi B. Like, she's been on a lot of tracks, so I've heard a lot of good bars from Cardi B. I've only heard this one track from Latto, so there's room for her to step above. I think she's better than Megan Thee Stallion, but I don't
She's
think.
no Robbie Williams though, is she?
Yes, yeah, she
No
is.
Robbie Williams, no.
Although, judging from the music video, she can certainly shake her rude box. Which is not something I'm ever going to say aloud again.
Oh, yeah, the music video is something special.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
I like the concept of the guy in the convenience store. Sorry, the accent came back again. Scratching off the lottery ticket, and like she's doing all the. Oh, it's fantastic.
That wasn't a bit of video I liked.
See, I'm trying to present myself as a little bit more highbrow. Then, yeah, I fucking ran through the Kleenex.
We're talking about a song that raps about big dick energy. We're okay to say her tits look fantastic in the video.
I didn't actually see the video. I was
you
just
need to
listening
remedy
to
that.
it, so I've only heard the musical genius that is Latto, and yeah, it's great. Really good song.
Oh, so good.
It's
I
one
really,
of those
I
kind
really
of-
like this song.
The lyrics.
I can see it being heard quite often in public. Probably in an edited version. I see it as possibly being like a perennial dance floor anthem, a bit in the vein of Inni Kamozi's "Here Comes the Hot Stepper."
I just think this song could stay around. I think this.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be a flash in the pan song. I think it's catchy enough to.
That's
steal
what
it.
that's what I mean. It's kind of be a bit of an anthem. I hope.
I mean, to be fair, it's my fourth favourite song of this top 10.
It's a strong praise. Well, I'm giving it a big thumbs up.
2 thumbs up for me. I think this song's class.
Yeah.
Really good.
It's
Big
been on the
thumbs up.
chart for 29 weeks, apparently.
It should be though. It's that good. I really enjoyed it.
It peaked at number 3. So yeah, I'm also giving it a thumbs up.
Yeah, I like it slightly less than Lizzo.
I would say they are very similar in my rankings.
Yeah,
They're both very
I'm going to
good.
listen to both of them in regular rotation going forward, I think. But the big question for me, as a big fan of Genius of Love and as a big fan of Fantasy by Mariah Carey, as they're now kind of a trilogy of songs, how do I rank those?
It's Genius of Love is top.
Yeah.
By a mile. It's not even close.
It's not as good as Fantasy by Mariah Carey either, so it's going to have to sit at the bottom. But let's hope with time it can rise above Mariah. Is Latto going to be bigger than Mariah? Probably not, actually. We'll move on, because I'm rambling. In at number 7 is Heat Waves, a song that's still on the charts since 2020, so it's been on the charts for 2 years, by English rock band Glass Animals. It's from the album Dreamland. Its continuous success, which saw it peaking at number 1 back in March, could be attributed to its role in the FIFA 21 soundtrack. So this has got that very, it's kind of dream pop indie vibe. It's perfect for a FIFA soundtrack.
It's also also on the Forza Horizon 5 soundtrack, which I've been playing quite a lot of lately. So you're just cruising around Mexico with the sun setting, and this comes on, and actually it fits really well in that vibe. So this isn't really my kind of music, to be honest with you. Normally I'd find this sort of thing a bit poncy and irritating, but I actually quite enjoyed it.
This is my favourite song in the top 10. I really, really like. I just find it. At first, I was like, "Yeah, it's okay," but like I said, I've listened to them all a lot, and I find this maybe the catchiest for me. There's a few on here which are probably catchier, but I don't know. There's something about it I just really enjoyed.
This is my second favourite of the top 10.
I knew Tom was going to love this.
Oh no, I don't love it. I really liked Glass Animals. This is probably, as somebody who's listened to pretty much everything they've done, I would argue this is the worst track they've done. Because
there's another single on the album that I really liked. Your Love, Deja Vu. That's a really good song.
My problem is, I have the same problem with this. There's a music journalist called Ethan Gordon who describes this track and this Glass Animals album, actually. He really didn't like this album. He liked their previous stuff, and I would agree with him. And he says, momentarily annoying and infinitely forgettable with strange and unpleasant trap percussion and synthesizers. And I wouldn't go as far as that, but it's like, I like it. It's got a nice vibe to it. But their early stuff is like, imagine, like, so there was this real trend about 3 or 4 years ago. Imagine Dragons were the perfect example of that sort of anthemic indie, right?
Oh, they're so bad, and we just missed out because they're at number 11. So we nearly had Imagine Dragons kicking on this episode. We might get it after all.
There was Imagine Dragons were like
shit,
really big, and there was, well, yeah, I don't like them either. But there was this like, and Hosier, and that was the anthemic indie thing. And Glass Animals did that with a guitarist who played like John Frusciante, which was really quite cool. And then they released this track, and it's just like, where's the cool guitar gone, man? Like, you play guitar really well, and like, it's not here. Like, that's a bit how I felt about this track. It's another example of bands getting worse as they go on. But like I say, nice vibe. It's got a chorus. You know, I'm happier with this than most.
I mean, I haven't listened to that other stuff at all, and this is the first time I've ever heard of them. And so for me, they just sound like they're just a pop band, so I have no idea. But this song's great, man. There's nothing wrong. It's good. It's good feels.
After listening through like so many songs that are just like coated in auto-tune, it was nice to have a song that wasn't. I mean, maybe they've got some auto-tune on there, but it's not obviously auto-tuned everywhere.
I mean, there is a bit in it.
It's not a gimmick, yeah.
So that was nice.
I've heard it ages ago, and I can't remember where I first heard it, but when I listened to it for the purpose of this top 10, I was quite surprised to see it still in there, because I remember hearing it a couple of years ago and thinking, wow, this song's still around. And I looked up the history, and it's been a really successful song. The music video is probably helped that a little bit as well. It's quite I don't want to say iconic, because it's far too early to say that when it's only been out a couple of years, but it's got one of those music videos that you'll remember. It's just a guy with carrying like heavy luggage in the street, but it's just like something about the colour palette and the way that the film is shot on a very, almost like a cheap camera, and it's a good music video. I think that helps its longevity.
But then let's say, does this track, so I like this one, second favourite on the list. Is it a good enough track to deserve to be in a top 10 chart for 2 years?
No.
69
100%.
weeks it's been in the charts, and it topped out at number 1.
Judging the other stuff it gets to get in the top 10 for like a week or two, compared to a lot of it, yeah, it actually does deserve 2 years. Because if that is in it for a week, then this gets to be in it for 2 years, because it's way better.
Yeah, I take that point.
Like some of those Drake songs we've had.
To be fair, any Drake song we've put. I like this better than any Drake song. There you go. That's all the praise you need.
Stick that on the back of the DVD case.
I second that. So is it thumbs up for everyone?
Yeah, thumbs up
I'm
from
giving
me.
it
Yeah,
thumbs up.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, thumbs up.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's an undeniable banger, though.
No, it's a good song. It's not great.
Yeah.
Do we finish up the first half of the chart?
Yeah.
So in number 6 is Después de la Playa, Spanish for After the Beach. It's another Bad Bunny track. Personally, this one's the best one.
No.
Ooh, I think we disagree here. Wait a minute, what?
The one that's the actual single and that's higher up the charts, I can actually understand how that guy was famous. I don't like it, but I can understand it. This is just more trash with a fucking flamenco gash in the middle.
Well, that's the bit I like.
To be fair, I agree with Dan. The flamenco bit that came in the middle I like, and it was there for like a little bit, and then he ruined it again with that fucking trap beat. But yeah, this is... I don't know. It's between this one and the one at number 10 that are like the worst, because I'll agree with Al. The one that comes later is the definite single, was clearly the definite single for a reason. This track has a moment in it about a minute in that I liked, and then everything else, every criticism made of him before, stands on this track as well.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that.
We were talking
I
earlier
think this is
about...
his second best track. Sorry, James, go for it.
Oh, we were talking earlier about all of like every line starting with him going A. But the whole start of this song is him just going A.
I think that's Spanish for A.
I think you're right.
Or is he going hey and just doesn't know how to say the letter H?
No, he's taken something from American mumble rap and just made it Latino based. He keeps the A. Wasn't it fucking me? Ugh.
I went through I did the due diligence of translating the lyrics, and it goes like this. Tell me, where do we go after the beach? If we get dry, I'll bring the towel. And later, we get wet, but in my bed. I'm going to give it to you hard. Tell me, where do we go after the beach? If we get dry, I'll bring the towel. And later, we get wet, but in my bed. I'm going to give it to you hard. That's just... absolutely wish I'd never done that.
To be fair, those might actually be my favourite lyrics of all time. That was actually pretty wicked, actually.
Sorry, apologies,
They're
Bad
the
Bunny.
sort of lyrics you would write, Al.
I just love the idea when he says he's just penning it in bed, and then we'll go from the beach, but we'll have to get wet somewhere. I know. In bed.
Bad Bunny's mum is furious with him.
And I think the worst part of this song, though, is towards the end, where Bad Bunny starts like... It sounds like he's impersonating the Count from Sesame Street.
Yes, it does.
He just starts going like, ah.
The worst part of this entire song was, do you know when the trumpets get the end towards the flamenco bit, and before it kicks back into the actual song? Like the trumpet or whatever, like, it just sounded slightly out of time. And it was really, really off-putting. I was like, this just sounds discordant and just terrible. It was supposed to be like the big drop before it went back in. I was like, ugh, God, fucking get a metronome. It's horrible.
I feel really bad that we aren't going to be able to talk about Big Bunny again. Oh no, wait. We haven't looked at the rest of the
Oh, that's good. We got to talk about
We
him.
might as well, because in fifth position is Titi Me Pregunto, the Spanish for Auntie Asked Me.
This is the worst of the four.
Yeah, I would say this is the worst. It sounds... I've got here that it sounds like European kids' holiday club favourite, King Africa. Now, that's a pretty niche reference, but if you ever went to like on a European kids holiday in the early 2000s, there was like a spree of these singles by a guy called King Africa, and it's basically the same reggaeton beat, and it's just this guy just shouting. It also reminds me of Chacaron Macaron by El Chombo, which is famously the song that goes...
Yeah, everyone's favourite.
Yeah, which is and those are the real lyrics, by the way. Look it up. This is the worst of the four songs on there,
And the worst of the whole 10.
Like I don't understand how people would stream it. Like I don't understand how like 10 people would stream it. Never mind like a billion. So I've got nothing. I have nothing to say on this. After this, it's just bad. I cannot be asked to talk about this guy anymore. That's it. Fuck
So
him.
my notes for this track are: I'd rather listen to my smoke alarm. But then I followed it up with: But at 3 minutes 46 seconds in, the best thing I've heard Bad Bunny do comes in, which is like 5 seconds of just the synth part, that one little synth melody line, and that's the best 5 seconds of anything on his album.
No, the best 5 seconds for me were the Gaviscon advert I had on YouTube before it.
That's probably fair. To be fair, I would have preferred that.
I can't believe Gav is gone.
I've got Spotify Premium, so I didn't get an advert first, but I wish I had.
I preferred the other two. I didn't think they were particularly offensive. I liked the kind of flamenco bit that we're referring to in the second track. It was a bit different, a bit more ambitious. This was dross. It was really bad, and I think that if you're comparing like Latino pop phenomenon. And you look at people like Gerardo with Rico Suave, or Ricky Martin with both She Bangs and Living La Vida Loca. They're better songs than this.
You've also got to realise that this is track 4 on the album, and then like this is the point that everyone gets to and switches off because all the later tracks are lower down. So this track is as high as it is purely because it's as far as normal people get into the album.
Yeah, this is the tipping point, I think, for many people. And I think I would actually think he's got a better WWE career than he has a singles career from the sounds of it.
I just wish Vince McMahon would do music and I'd listen to that instead of him.
No chance.
We could have been lucky and it could have been 9 Drake singles for you, Al.
I want to go as far as say this. I would prefer that than to listen to 4 of his songs again. And number 4.
Well, we've got someone that's not Bad Bunny, surely.
Sorry to disappoint you, James. But number 4 is Moscow Mule, which is presumably Spanish for Moscow Mule. And this one is the single from the album. So
I prefer to get kicked by a mule.
Apparently he named it this because he had been drinking a lot of Moscow Mules on the beach last year.
Was that before he went to get wet in the bed?
This was his best song.
No, this is the worst one. This is
my second favourite.
I thought it was the best one.
I can see why it's a single. It's probably the catchiest vocal hook.
It's like saying syphilis is the second favourite of my STIs.
It's the catchiest one. Yeah. Yeah, this is. It's just it steers more into trap than it does the Latin elements. I fear it's the most radio friendly of the bunch, which is evidently why it's the single. It doesn't really do anything to mark it out as a special song. I just think it's probably got the most airplay of all these tracks, so that's why it's the highest.
I think it's the closest to the songs he has to a good chorus hook, if you know what I mean. Which is probably why I like it more, because at least I recognise that bit, that line at the start of the chorus. And I was like, okay, I could hum that, Other than that, this one I didn't loathe. It was all right. It's
still a thumbs down.
It was all right.
Out of all 4 of
a thumbs down, yeah.
I'll just quickly read. My notes for this are quite short. I basically wrote, it started so well with that really gamelan-esque synth, and then the vocals come in and I hate it. And then the drums and with the snare and tom sounds are basically the worst I've ever heard on a track. And I wrote, it might have been salvageable if it had a decent producer. The melody never progresses beyond a nursery rhyme. And then I wrote, who the fuck pays money for this? There are better uses for your Spotify subscription.
God, get off the fence, Tom.
Yeah, if you like the synths, listen to M83. If you like the vocal style, you need to go to an audiologist. If you like trap, listen to the new Earl Sweatshirt album. That's basically my notes for this track.
But other than that, you give it a thumbs up.
No, I wouldn't. It's probably, of the 4, it's probably the one that, as an overall track, I mean, I liked the flamenco hint in one of the others, but as an overall track, it's probably the one I like the best. But that's not really a high bar. He's possibly got one of the most boring vocal deliveries that I've ever heard. You can't polish a turd with auto-tune. At least T-Pain could sing. like this is a bad singer, like who is not even trying, being thrown through auto-tune because he's in a Spider-Man film and selling a gazillion records. I mean, it's just so fucking cynical.
Yeah, I think we're giving a little bit too much airtime to Bad Bunny. I mean, you think about artists that we've never really discussed on this podcast, and then we've covered 4 Bad Bunny singles. So has anybody got anything else that they really have a burning desire to add to our Bad Bunny conversation, or is this dialogue closed and we can move on?
No.
I would like if we never discussed this man ever again. That would be fantastic.
The charts control us.
The third track is by Really, Really, Really Bad Bunny. No, it's not. In at number 3 is Wait For You, stylized in all caps. It's a song by American rapper Future, or Navadius Damon Wilburn, as he was born on the 20th of November 1983. This single features vocals from Canadian rapper and Owl's mate Drake and Nigerian singer Thames, who was also featured on Drake's Certified Lover Boy last year. The second single from the album I Never Loved You, his 9th album.
9th?
Yeah, Future's got 9 albums.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been going a long time.
And yeah, there's not really a massive amount I'm going to say about this track. I liked it. It was okay, but the Drake verse felt completely superfluous and just phoned in.
Isn't that everything he's made in the last 2 years?
Yes, Canada has apologized for Drake on many occasions.
How was this any different to the songs you said you liked? He sounds exactly the same. All of his lyrics are, as usual, completely incoherent.
I had low expectations for this.
What? I wanted to phone you, but I was on the balcony. How can I convince you? Oh, God. Oh, God, I hate Drake so much. I don't get him. To be fair, this is actually one of his better rhymes, actually. I thought, you say it's one of his most, phoned-in ones. I can't tell the difference between his phoned-in ones and not phoned-in ones. I actually thought this one had a slightly better flow. Except for the last verse, where he fits in 2 extra syllables into the rap where it shouldn't have been there. He just kind of sped it up in the end to make it fit.
I think there's a massive gulf in quality between something like his verse on this and then if you go back and listen to, Marvin's song, which is quite introspective, and it's about him drunk dialing an old girlfriend, but it's quite personal in the way he records a voicemail for her. Anyway, I like that song, and he has done several songs that I really do like. I mean, Hotline Bling is one of my favourite songs of the last decade. That's insanely catchy, and I just love everything about it.
I mean, that song's not that bad. It's all right.
So yeah, there. I think we've had this conversation before that I feel Drake has some merit. Not in this case. Future was featured on Way Too Sexy, which was from Certified Lover Boy last year. I don't really go much on his verse on that, and it's very hard to distinguish what Future adds to the rap scene. I kind of feel like he's he's second, not even second rate. He's third rate compared to the leading hip hop figures, your Kendrick Lamar's.
I was looking into this, right? Because when you look into it, they always say how Future's really influential and he's been going for 10 years.
Yeah,
and he's literally, I'm pretty sure he's influential for one thing. Okay. And that is because his first album's 2012, and I cannot remember any incident, and I don't know hip hop that well, so please comment on this on whatever platform it is because I'll never read it. But he's the first example that I know of.
Not too abusive because I will.
Yeah, he's the first example I know of somebody sticking auto-tune on a rapper. Because he was doing that in 2012. He is to rap what T-Pain is to soul, but not as good. So he raps he almost affects a slightly Hispanic accent, which he doesn't have normally, and then sticks auto-tune on it, and he's made a career out of it. Good on him, but this is 3 minutes of my life I will never get back.
I think we're all missing the point of this, and the best part of this song are the lyrics. The vocals from Thames. That's just a really good part of this song. You said earlier, Tom, about it being the year of the female vocalist, and I think she's really good. She's up there. I think she can really sing.
women are doing music better than men are at the moment, frankly. I mean, it's probably about time. But then actually saying that, Joni...
It's about damn time.
It's about damn time.
Song.
Like last year, in every genre, women or bands with women as an integral part made most of my favourite records last year. Really from, like, The World is a Beautiful Place, and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die is the full band name. Everson Poe, who's a trans woman making amazing solo metal music where she plays everything that's quite dark. You know, there's like they were doing like last year and then this year again, like female fronted indie bands and female singers. Like, actually, I will say that the Brimheim album I listened to again yesterday, and I will probably go and buy it. And also the album title and the lead track, Can't Hate Myself into a Different Shape, is just lyrically brilliant. So like, I shouldn't be quite so negative about this year as I am. It's just a bit of a disappointment after last year and 2019, but it's still all right. But yeah, this track's shit, basically.
To be honest, like, I don't hate it. I think it's okay-ish. I find like I'm kind of like, I don't think Drake really added much, and to be honest, I don't think either artist on the song really did enough to, like, it didn't really feel like the song was very long. Either of them didn't really seem to do enough to justify
Sort of tapered out in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, like I think Future's bit was, I think it's because I hadn't really heard him before, so I didn't mind the auto-tune mumble rap.
He's made a career out of that. I mean, if you have to auto-tune your rap, you probably shouldn't be a rapper. And he auto-tunes all of it. Like, everything I've heard he's done is...
But then you could look at somebody like Roger Troutman as being the father of that in Zap, with his kind of... It's not auto-tune, it's the talk box, but that kind of gimmicky, affected vocal being omnipresent in your work has been done before and can still contain artistic merit. So I don't necessarily think that just because you auto-tune everything, it makes you shit. I think you've got to have, if you have good lyrical content with it and your flows are good, this is the same as me enjoying several Drake tracks. I don't dismiss it directly because of the auto-tune.
No, but then like T-Pain, you watch his Tiny Desk concert, like that guy, he got a load of shit for auto-tuning everything, but the guy is fundamentally a good singer and has released stuff where he sings without auto-tune to prove that he can do it.
Weirdly, not as popular as the stuff the auto-tune though, which he kicks himself about.
I did skip through like a couple of tracks off every Future album, and there wasn't a single one that didn't have auto-tune on it. So he's never proven that he can do it without.
But he doesn't need to. He's rapping. Like, he's not auto-tuning his vocals to be in tune. Like, he's rapping and he's just putting that as an effect on it. Like, rapping isn't in or out of tune.
If you're having to auto-tune it to make it sound a certain way, then the rappers that I like the most, there is some melody within what they're doing, or there's at least some inflection within what they're doing. Whereas by adding auto-tune, you compress all of that shit out of it and just make it monotone. And if you
by design, though, that's
by design, but it just why? I just don't understand the point of it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't get why. I just he does it, and that's how it is.
It reminds me of its origins in crunk, but before that, you've got. As I mentioned, the Zap sound, and I see it as a carrying on the lineage of that kind of music. So that's, I think, some of it gets a pass from me. But yeah, it's not a groundbreaking track. It's very much thumbs in the middle if we're using our scale.
Down.
It's just one of those songs where, and I feel like this happens a lot, especially with Drake, where it's only there because of who he is and who they are. You know what I mean? I don't think the song ever... I think a lot of time with Drake, the song isn't good enough to be there, but because it's his newest one, it will be there no matter what.
He's so famous.
This is another reason why streaming being in the charts. It's like, if you're a Drake fan, you'll listen to this because Drake's on it. And because you listened to it because Drake's on it, it'll end up in the charts.
But would you go out and buy it?
I fucking hope not.
I mean, I downloaded this album by Future. I haven't listened to it yet, but I will give it a spin. Certainly, I don't think that he's the worst rap artist I've ever heard. So I'll give him a chance. This song didn't turn me off to a level where I'm like, no, I'm not giving him a chance. And there's a lot of 2010s rappers that I've kind of gone back and listened to. People like Tyler the Creator,
Ed Sheeran.
See, I loved
Robbie Williams
Tyler,
as well.
Yeah. So I really liked Tyler the Creator at the beginning, and then I just sort of fell out of love with it very quickly.
He's gotten better and better. Like the album,
Yeah,
was it
I'm
last
with you.
year he brought a new album out, and that was absolutely brilliant, and he's really matured. Like it's fantastic.
He was one of the Pitchfork Media darlings back in like the late 2000s, because I remember being into Pitchfork Media, who were like all into Animal Collective and Arcade Fire, basically. They were loving that. And then it was like Frank Ocean and Tyler the Creator were like the new big things.
I love Frank
And I
Ocean
remember-
as well.
Yeah, I really liked Frank Ocean stuff.
Channel
And,
Orange
like,
is a great album.
Yeah, Channel Orange is a great album. I will completely agree with Dan, and I hate myself for doing so. We usually disagree on everything. But like, so I remember getting into Tyler the Creator for that, through that. And then just like the album last year, it just didn't hit me. And I don't know why, because like I read the lyrics and I'm like, yeah, his lyrics are better and everything. And I just don't know why it is. There's just something about it just didn't grab me, and which I feel ashamed about in a way, in the same way that I feel bad that I just don't get Run the Jewels.
Call Me If You Get Lost was the Tyler the Creator record from last year. I enjoyed that. I really liked Juggernaut with Lil Wayne. That was a good song.
That might be why I didn't like it. It had Lil Wayne on it.
Yeah, and he's another one for the conversation. There's a lot of rappers that kind of do a lot of features on a lot of the same in a lot of the same circles, and I think that most of them are worth exploring, but ultimately they're all going to be kind of third rate, and sometimes there's not a massive discography.
I mean, isn't Lil
to
Wayne
discover.
just famous for going "ha" on top of stuff?
No, that's Lil Jon.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to the second placed entry for the week in the US Billboard Hot 100, and it's another English act. This one is a very famous name, and he's been featured on the podcast when we did the UK chart, when we covered Watermelon Sugar. This is As It Was by Harry Styles, who was born in Redditch on the 1st of February 1994, formerly of One Direction. This is the lead single from Harry's House, the new album, and it was number one in both the US and in the UK as well. I'm sure people have got some things they want to say about Harry Styles and how enthusiastic they are about being a Harry Styles fan. Tom, this is going to ruin your credibility.
Yeah, it is. 'Cause I actually fucking love this song.
It's really good.
It's been stuck in my head all day. Like, I don't know. Like, I listened to the rest of the album after this, and it didn't grab me in the same way this single did. But I
really like the album.
Yeah, I can see the merit in it. But like, I don't feel too bad in saying this is my favourite song in the charts, and probably of the albums that I like, this is probably one of my singles of the year so far. I really, really liked it. Like, it's just, his vocal delivery was really good. It really sounds like a lot of the indie bands sounded in about 2009. What Harry Styles is doing now is he is doing what a lot of indie bands do, and he's sort of getting a bit of stick for it from the cool crowd, which I think is a bit unfair. So like in 2009, the big thing with indie bands was referencing sort of 80s synthy type stuff. Like bands like, you had bands like Delays, who were brilliant, by the way. Their albums are fantastic, but like, and they were.
I mean, even the
referencing-
Strokes went a little bit synthy in.
Yeah, towards the late 2000s. Exactly. There was this real sort of 80s revivalist thing. which came off the back of what M83 were doing in the mid-2000s, I would possibly argue. But then there were also bands like The Rapture in 2003, 2004. And like this track could have been released by an indie band in 2009, and it would be remembered as one of the great indie rock tracks. And the fact it's Harry Styles' name on it will mean a lot of music critics and hipster kids will naturally hate it. And my first thought was, oh fuck, Harry Styles, I've got to listen to this shit again. And I listened to it and I went, actually, this is if this didn't have his name on it, I would be raving about how good this was. Like the production on it, like his vocal, he is probably not the best. He's probably not the best singer in One Direction. I did air quotes then for anyone listening.
But I would say Zayn, maybe. I'm being serious.
The production on this track suits his vocal perfectly. I think it's got a chorus that got stuck in my head. It's made a bit more poignant because the music video was being filmed by a Ukrainian director at the time when war broke out as well. I think it's an interesting story and it's quite an interesting music video.
I don't like his drip though. Harry Styles, like I've mentioned on the podcast before, that he's the pop star that stole what I would have looked like if I was a pop star. No, not anymore.
You wish.
Like, I don't agree with some of. I like the aesthetic. I just don't think they look good. I mean, I'm a guy that can hang with feminized clothes and bright colours and things, but I just think some of the cuts are not really. What I just don't like them. But yeah, I mean, you do you, Harry.
I don't particularly like what it looks like, but I like what he's going for.
Yeah, I like the message.
Yeah, and yeah, this track, like 3 thumbs up. Like it's probably
3. We've only got 2 hands.
I told you in advance when this track came up, I was going to ruin my street cred because this track. The album's probably a solid 8.
Yeah.
And this track's probably a 9.5.
I would say that the best track on the album is a track called Daydreaming, which has kind of got the Lizzo slap bass thing going on. This song is really good though, and it grows on you, because when the first time I heard it, I was a bit like, oh, that kind of synth arpeggio sounds like Take On Me. It's that kind of thing. But the vocal production, for me, it's kind of got that instant karma John Lennon effect. And I really like the timbre of his voice, and it's one of those hooks that buries itself in your mind, and it's not until you've listened to maybe 5 or 6 other songs, and then you go, it's not the same as it was.
I nearly got that out of my head. Thanks for that, Dan. The other 3 have been really quiet while you and I are waxing lyrical. So I'm now going to do the whole. I'd actually put this track down as an undeniable banger, and everyone else is now going to shoot this down.
I was going to suggest that.
Well, I'll go. I mean, I said some very horrible things about Harry Styles in his last single, and I stand by them because that song was absolutely just a non-starter song. Who the fuck cares about that song ever? Yeah, I really like this song. It was really good. Like you said, it reminded me a bit like just a Take On Me with just a did, but like, which is probably
that's
why
intentional as well.
Which is probably why I liked it. I think I like that general style of pop music. So he managed to tick that box like out the gate, and it's really catchy and it's just really good. Yeah, honestly, I kind of agree with everything Tom said. I agree with. I really liked it.
I think this song lit up my world like nothing else on this list. It's a nice Harry Styles reference.
I prefer the Lizzo song, but
yeah, it's really close between that one, Latto, and this.
I think I prefer it, but just.
I enjoyed like the self-reflection that he's clearly going through on the track. It puts real good meaning into it. Like I like a song with meaning, but I enjoyed the synth pop sound as well. Yeah, really good song. I think Harry Styles has clearly come away from One Direction with a lot of credibility, not just like a boy band X Factor, whatever it was, wannabe, but he's got a lot to him, which I didn't realise a few years ago.
I'd say absolutely.
He's like a Roman Keating for the modern world.
Oh, without the scandal.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that. I mean, it's a listen without prejudice moment for me.
Yes.
George Michael's Faith was a very pop record, and so far Harry Styles' singles, I mean, Sign of the Times is a ballad, but so it's a bit different, but I mean, Adore You, Watermelon Sugar, they're more up-tempo pop, catchy songs, and some of us like them, some of us don't. This is the moment where I think the album is really good. The lyrics are saying something, there's emotion in his voice, and like George Michael wanted to be taken seriously, I think this is the moment, and the parallel for me is George Michael.
So he's decided to make a good song. Good for him.
My problem with Harry Styles is he left One Direction and he did the track Watermelon Sugar and all of that other stuff, and he came across as a bit of a pretentious cunt. No, he did. He when he was talking about Watermelon Sugar and referencing classic literature and making shit pop songs, and on this and I was just like, no. Whereas on this album, he's actually backed up the pretentious shit he was spouting and I think there was an element of trying to come across as a new Bowie.
Yeah, I think he's ditched that a little bit. There's not much Bowie on the album.
He's ditched that a little bit and made a great record. He's still a bit pretentious, but if you're gonna make a song like this, I think you're kind of allowed.
Maybe we're just showing our prejudices a little bit, but like, I always find that if a songwriter makes a few bad ones, then we're like, oh, not very good. But as soon as they make one that sounds a bit retro, it seems like we're all back on board. I'm not going to give him enough credit for one song yet.
The album is the guys he's worked with to make the album. He's picked his collaborators well, and the album, even though I don't love all of it, does all sound good.
The most pertinent of questions is this song an undeniable banger? And it's a yes from me.
Yeah, it's a yes from me. Fuck, I've just said yes to a Harry Styles track.
It's right on the cusp.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
I don't know if it's quite there, but it's a pretty good song.
You know what? I like the song enough to put it through.
Yeah, that's the thing. And is it going to have longevity? Probably. I think this will probably get airplay for years. So I think in its we're just hearing it in its kind of emergence on the pop culture scene. And for me, it's good enough, and it's only going to get better. So it's a definite yes.
It's had a chorus stuck in my head all day, and that very rarely happens. Especially
in modern music when it's not so based around those kind of hooks anymore.
Yeah. So it's very rarely. Now, like, the Lizzo track is great, but when Dan sings the chorus, it's very...
The chorus isn't as catchy. The verses are better on the Lizzo track.
Yeah. Whereas, like, this one, the melody in the chorus is fantastic. It's not nursery rhyme, and it's stuck in my head. And I do think this will have staying power, and I think I'd like to think... I'm probably wrong, though, because everything I like... But like, I'd like to think that of the music in the top 100 Billboard today, I think in 5 years' time, I like to think if any of them are going to be still played on the radio, I like to think it's this one.
But then it's appealing to like nostalgia, isn't it? Like that's what it is. It appeals to the nostalgia for synth pop. And actually, when I try and think like, what's that intro melody that I love so much? And the intro melody that I think in my head is the melody from Enola Gay.
Yeah, OMD.
Like, so because it's so derivative of that sort of synth pop.
It's derivative. I find this song a bit derivative.
But because it's derivative.
It is.
But that means that it's got to be ranked lower as a result.
No, it does. So hang on, let's go back to Lou Bega's Mambo Number 5.
Well, this has gone in a weird direction.
No. But still gets played at like every disco ever, right?
Yeah, I hate it.
No, I'm not either. I hate it as well, but it's remembered. But that is the epitome of nostalgic derivation. You know, it's not just because something is nostalgic doesn't mean it doesn't have staying power. You could argue the same thing about like any thrash song you like from the early 2000s. Essentially rips off late 70s, like 80s Metallica, but doesn't mean it doesn't have staying power.
I didn't care for your example.
I don't like any early noughties thrash.
My thoughts on sampling, for me, it always comes down to what is the intent of the sample? Is it, if it's to kind of gloss over the existence of the old song and try and reinvent something new that people wouldn't have necessarily remembered, then I think it comes from a bad creative place. But this song is using that sample, and you're clearly supposed to think, oh, it's like that kind of, it's that kind of 80s song.
But
it
isn't truly a sample,
it's not.
Though. It's just reference.
It might as well be. Then.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like that. It's not. It's respectful to that kind of music. It's trying to invoke it for a reason, and it's not just. Oh, that'll sound banging if we make it sound like Aha. It's a constructed song that happens to interpolate a similar riff.
And the actual feel of the song is very unlike that Aha song.
The lyrics are really sad. So it's that juxtaposition there as well. So it's working. The lyrics work in contrast to the use of the familiar sound. So it's clever.
And it doesn't, and most of the song doesn't sound like an 80s song. It's referencing 80s stuff, and that's what I like about it, because it's referencing but still sounding new. Yeah, like I say, I've lost any credibility that I had, but I'm okay with it because I can still hum this song to myself for the rest of the day.
I really like the song, and if I'd never heard of him before, I would say it was an undeniable banger, but I will not forgive him for his last single. So he can go, so he's not going on this because of that. He needs to have 2 good songs on him to get over that last bit of dross.
Well, listen to the album.
I will say the problem I've got now at the moment, the thing that really hurts at the moment, is I would not be surprised with how this year's going if that Harry Styles album doesn't end up on someone's end of the year list.
It's in contention for mine. I mean, Kendrick Lamar, Jack White, Charlie XCX. I really like the Black Keys. I would comfortably
say the Harry Styles album I like better than either Jack White or the Black Keys, which I did never thought I would say that.
I quite like Slash's album this year as well, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators.
I've seen Slash live with Miles Kennedy twice, and I fucking hate it so much.
Okay. I think that there will be more Harry Styles singles to look out for. I think Daylight is, I earmark that as a potential single, as well as Daydreaming. Matilda might get some airplay as well. So, yeah, go listen to the Harry Styles record. It's actually surprisingly good. Into the final song of the evening, in at number 1 with a bullet. It's not Fall Out Boy, don't worry.
That's a shame. I like Fall Out Boy.
Oh, if only. That's a great song.
That is a great song.
It's grown on me over the years. At first,
you need to watch the misheard lyrics videos. They're fantastic.
Patrick Stump has got the worst enunciation in music. Everything that he sings is just like he's got marbles in his mouth.
I'm just going to ask you though, are they more than you bargained for yet?
Sugar, we're going down. So I think the only Fall Out Boy reference I could get that wasn't Dance Dance.
The following line is, I've been trying to tell you anything you want to hear because that's just who I am this week, isn't it? Something like that.
And Tom claims our prize in this week's What Are Those Fall Out Boy lyrics competition that we've been running secretly since episode 1.
He was worried about losing his credibility for liking Harry Styles. So he was quoting Fall Out Boy at us.
Fall Out Boy are cool now, man.
Oh yeah, they're retro now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about that sweet nostalgia.
I think Fall Out Boy's vocalist is one of my heroes. He got famous and within a year of being famous became fat. And I'm like, good on you. Good on you.
Anyway, number 1 this week was First Class. It's the second number 1 for Kentucky rapper Jackman Thomas Harlow, better known as Jack Harlow, born on March the 13th, 1998. The first number 1 was Industry Baby with Lil Nas X back in 2021, which is another song that I really like as well. This is the biggest opening week since Drake's Way Too Sexy, which features our good old mate Future and Young Thug as well, who's also probably a good old mate of ours. Remember the days with Young Thug. That was back in September 2021. This peaked at number 2 in the UK, so it's popular over here as well. Another one that's quite popular on TikTok, same with that Lizzo one from earlier. This one is the song that you'll know samples Glamorous by Fergie from about 2006. And it features Fergie, but I like it, which are two very oxymoronic clauses. Can a song that samples Fergie be good? Let's find out. What does everyone else think?
I prefer the original Fergie song, so no.
I'll get this in quick.
Wait, but Tom, before you go into this, I'm just going to say I hate this song, but it has my favourite line of any of the songs in this top 10, and that is "Keep dreaming, pineapple juice like it was sweet, sweet, sweet semen."
Is that actually a line in it?
Yeah.
That's actually a line.
Fucking hell.
Well, before Tom goes on his rant, I actually quite like Jack Harlow.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's a great rapper, and yeah, some of his lyrics may be a bit
unsavory.
Unsavory, but I don't know. Like the song that broke him is that "What's Poppin'," and I think that's probably like the best rap song I've heard in like 10 years. So like,
I like Dua Lipa as well, the single that he wrote about Dua Lipa.
I just think he's had a solid few singles, and this one's a bit. He's got quite a few short songs, but when I first heard this, I was like, it's not very good compared to a lot of his other stuff. But the more I listened to it, the more I was like, I actually did quite like the hook in the chorus, and like I kind of like his vocals, like his rapping in this, and yeah, I actually like this song. So go ahead, Tom, if you want to slag it, or let Dan have one first.
I just thought the fact that it made me nostalgic for a mediocre at best Fergie song kind of says it all, really. Glamorous.
The best part of that song was the ludicrous bit. So yeah, I mean, it's not the best of samples, but I actually quite like what he did with it. Tom doesn't.
I know. So like last year, Martin and Dave had a massive thing about how there were loads of white middle class rappers. Now, bearing in mind, I go through the album releases every week. I knew in terms of album releases, the two of them were talking bollocks. Jack Harlow is the American version of a white middle class rapper, and I hate it.
Yeah, but his voice is better than most rappers. I haven't heard many people who's got such a he could literally just read the phone book and it would sound cool. He's just got one of his voices, which is perfect.
See, I
for
don't
rap.
like his voice.
It just sounds very dismissive. He's
not going and just filling it with just faff. He's actually rapping, and I think he's really good.
He's rapping about sex and how rich he is. I mean,
it's his second album. He's got to rap about it. He can't be rapping about being poor anymore. I just thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, there's not much more that I can say than I just really enjoyed it. I've listened to it a couple of times. I quite like the album. It's not like it's going to show up on my end of the year ranking. Well, maybe watch this space, but it's fun. I enjoy it. There's nothing that I can pick out of it that really puts me off. And I think my music taste is going that way. I've talked about earlier episodes about how I'm a bit more accepting and a bit more broad-minded when it comes to music, as opposed to saying, no, don't like that, it's not my genre. And I think
it's a trap.
It's getting to the point now where it's just, it wasn't horrendously offensive, so actually I quite like it. But it's a good way to approach music, I guess.
That's why I like Drake, isn't it? That's the exact
quite possibly.
To be honest, I'm not anti-trap like a lot of people are. Like, but I mean, this isn't really trap. It's actually just good old-fashioned rap.
I've spent a lot of... So despite the fact that people think I'm instantly dismissive of anything that isn't my genre, I'm not usually. It's just that usually...
Well, Harry Styles is...
Well, yeah, absolutely. But like...
Yeah, but that Harry Styles song was borderline in Tom's style, so that's why I got a...
Yeah.
There are hip-hop albums that I really like. It's just that for stuff that's not my genre, for me to like it, it's rare, but... it's not rare. There's probably... Every genre you name, there's probably one or two albums I like in that genre somewhere. This Jack Harlow is not a hip-hop act I can get behind. Like this year, there have been several hip-hop acts I've been able to get behind, and this is not one of them. It does absolutely nothing for me.
I think it's great.
I didn't like it. It was meh.
Yeah, meh is right. It's not terrible, but it's not.
It was broadly inoffensive. It was he did some rapping, and there was a chorus where there was some backing vocals I've now learnt were Fergie, and that was it. And then there was the semen line, which I love.
I like the semen line. 10 out of 10.
Any line of semen is a good line of.
Went shopping today, bought 3 pineapples.
I'm going to give this one a thumbs up, I think. And I'm going to give the chart as an overall a thumbs up. But if we take Bad Bunny and the whole perversion of streaming services away from it, I think the chart's quite good.
Compared to last time, I think it was a lot better.
Yeah, if there was no Bad Bunny, the chart overall was better than
the other 6 are all right, aren't
they? I'm just going to point out to you all right. So if Bad Bunny was only allowed to have Moscow Mule as his top one, okay, our number 11 is Imagine Dragons doing the song from the League of Legends TV show, a track called "Thought You Should Know" by Morgan Wallen. I don't even know who that is.
Country artist.
Okay. Then "Stay" by the Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber,
which I like.
But then I don't. But then the final one would actually be Kendrick Lamar's "The Heart Part 5", which is
a great single.
Yeah, I will allow. I do.
I love the deep fake video as well. I thought that was a great release. And
if Bad Bunny was only allowed one release, I'd like 2 songs.
I liked out of the top 10. I actively liked 5 and don't mind 1, and all 4 of that guy's songs, who we shall not talk about anymore. Shite Bunny or whatever he's called.
I actively liked 1. 2 were okay.
I think it's been worth the excursion over to the other side. We will be returning with an episode we've been planning for a while. We're going to be doing the top 20 songs of 1987 for its 35th anniversary. Until then, check out our Twitter feed at Cac Sessions Pod and the blog, cacophonisessions.wordpress.com. Check out the YouTube channel. You never know, I might make something one day that's not a Prince video.
Why would you lie? Why would you lie to him like that?
I am lying. I'm even bathed in purple light right now, so I'm definitely lying. Anybody else got anything that they want to say before we bid the listeners adieu?
Just keep that big dick energy. Yeah, it's very, very important, especially hard times coming ahead with, fuel prices and all that. Big dick energy is needed.
Because that will pay the bills.
The most important thing that we've all learned is that if you're craving some semen, just have a carton of pineapple juice.
Yes.
And on that note, keep on rocking that big dick energy and stay funky.
If they sign up to the Patreon, they get a dick pic from Martin. and it'll have him holding his guitar for so you can get a sense of scale.
But obviously Martin is on OnlyFans, so you can just subscribe to him directly.
It's not for me.
How do you think we afford these high production values?